Deep in the Indian Ocean lies an island frozen in time, a place where outsiders are never welcome, where those who dare to enter never return. This is North Sentinel Island, the most dangerous forbidden island on Earth. In the middle of the Bay of Bengal lies a place untouched by time, a place hidden from the modern world where no roads, no cities, and no technology exist. This is North Sentinel Island, one of the last truly isolated places on Earth. For over 60,000 years, an ancient people have lived here, completely cut off from the outside world. They are the Sentinelese, one of the last uncontacted tribes on the planet. They do not use modern tools, they do not farm, they do not trade, and they do not welcome outsiders. To them, the outside world is not an opportunity, but a threat. There are still places on Earth where time stands still, where history is not recorded but lived unchanged for thousands of years. One of those places lies deep in the Bay of Bengal, an island shrouded in mystery and untouched by civilization. This is North Sentinel Island, a land lost in time, home to one of the last uncontacted tribes on Earth. For more than 60,000 years, the Sentinelese people have lived here in complete isolation, cut off from the rest of the world. Unlike other tribes, they have never accepted outsiders. They do not communicate, they do not trade, and they do not seek help. To them, the modern world is not an advancement, but a danger. For centuries, the outside world has tried to reach North Sentinel Island, but every attempt has ended the same way, in disaster. The Sentinelese have one rule: stay away, and those who break it rarely live to tell the story. In 1896, an Indian prisoner escaped from the Andaman Islands. Desperate to flee, he built a small raft, but the currents carried him straight to North Sentinel. Days later, a British search party found his body on the beach, riddled with arrows, his throat slit. He was not the first, and he would not be the last. In 1974, an Indian documentary crew attempted to make contact. They brought gifts, coconuts, tools, even a live pig. At first, the tribe watched in silence, but when the boat came closer, their response was clear. They fired. The team barely escaped, their only footage, a single arrow piercing their boat, a warning that no one could ignore. In 2006, 2 fishermen drifted too close to the island. The next day, their boat was found, but they were never seen again. Even helicopters have been attacked. After the 2004 tsunami, the Indian government sent a rescue team. The Sentinelese had survived, but instead of asking for help, they fired arrows at the aircraft. The message has never changed: stay away. For centuries, the outside world has tried to reach North Sentinel Island, but every attempt, every shipwreck, every expedition, every act of goodwill has ended the same way: in disaster. The Sentinelese have one rule: stay away, and those who break it rarely live to tell the story. In 1867, an Indian merchant ship, the Nineveh, ran aground near the island. The stranded crew, more than 100 men, waited desperately for rescue. But they were not alone. The Sentinelese attacked without hesitation. Spears flew through the air, arrows rained down. The sailors barely managed to hold them off with sticks and rocks until a rescue party arrived. The message was clear: this island belongs to no one but them. In 1896, an escaped Indian prisoner set off on a makeshift raft, hoping to reach freedom. Instead, the currents carried him straight to North Sentinel. Days later, his body was found on the shore, his throat slit, his body pierced with arrows. Even the British Empire, at the height of its power, failed to conquer the island. Attempts to civilize the Sentinelese ended in swift, violent retaliation. The island remained forbidden, untouched, untamed. In 1974, an Indian documentary crew attempted to make peaceful contact. They brought gifts, coconuts, tools, even a live pig, but no one knew how the Sentinelese would react. At first, the tribe accepted the coconuts, but when they saw the pig, they did something chilling. The crew barely escaped. Their only evidence of the encounter? A single arrow lodged in their boat, a silent but deadly warning. In 2006, 2 fishermen drifted too close to North Sentinel while searching for crabs. They never returned. Days later, a helicopter arrived to retrieve their bodies, but as it hovered over the island, the Sentinelese had only one response. They fired arrows at the helicopter, driving it away. The fishermen's bodies were left behind, lost forever. Despite the warnings, people still try to reach the island. In 2018, an American missionary, John Allen Chow, paid fishermen to smuggle him close to the island. He believed he could be the first to introduce the Sentinelese to the outside world, but he was wrong. The last time the fishermen saw him, he was standing on the shore speaking softly to the tribe. Then suddenly, arrows flew. The Sentinelese had made their message clear for over 1,000 years, and yet the world still refuses to listen. For over 60,000 years, the Sentinelese have lived here, isolated from the rest of humanity. No farms, no factories, no cities, and yet they have survived through storms, disease, and even the deadliest of threats, the modern world. Scientists believe the Sentinelese are direct descendants of the first humans to leave Africa, making them one of the oldest unbroken lineages on Earth. While empires rose and fell, wars reshaped continents, and technology evolved beyond imagination, the Sentinelese remained unchanged, living as their ancestors did tens of thousands of years ago. With no agriculture, the Sentinelese rely entirely on hunting, fishing, and foraging. Their jungle provides fruit and wild game, while the surrounding waters give them fish, crabs, and turtles. Their weapons, bows, spears, and knives, are expertly crafted from materials scavenged from the island, and sometimes from the wreckage of modern ships. When old ships crash on their shores, the Sentinelese strip them for metal, repurposing it for their weapons. They do not need the modern world, but they have learned how to use its scraps. But there is one mystery even scientists cannot fully explain. How have they survived disease? With no exposure to modern medicine, even the common cold could wipe them out. Yet for centuries they have thrived. No electricity, no written language, no technology. Yet the Sentinelese are not lost. They are self-sufficient, thriving without the distractions of the modern world. For them, survival is not about advancement. It is about balance. A balance they have maintained for thousands of years. Perhaps the greatest mystery is not how they survive, but why the rest of us cannot. It is one of the last forbidden places on Earth, a land where no traveler is welcome, no scientist can study, and no government dares to interfere. But why? What makes North Sentinel Island so untouchable? In 1956, the Indian government officially declared North Sentinel Island a protected zone. No one, tourists, fishermen, or even researchers, is allowed within 5 kilometers of its shores. Breaking this law can mean fines, imprisonment, or worse. Because for the Sentinelese, the punishment is simple: death. There is a reason governments do not force contact. If outsiders bring disease, even something as harmless as the flu, it could wipe out the entire Sentinelese population. They have no immunity to modern illnesses, no hospitals, no medicine. One careless visit could mean extinction. History has proven this before. When explorers reached the Americas, entire civilizations were destroyed, not by war, but by disease. If the Sentinelese are exposed to the modern world, their ancient way of life will not survive. Ironically, by keeping the world out, the Sentinelese may have saved themselves from a far greater danger, the destruction of nature itself. They do not suffer from pollution, climate change, or overpopulation. Their jungle remains untouched, their waters unspoiled. For centuries, They have watched the modern world from a distance, and each time they have chosen the same path, to remain hidden. Many have tried to visit, few have returned. It is not just a government ban that keeps people away. It is something deeper, a warning that has been repeated for thousands of years. It is one of the last forbidden places on Earth, a land where no traveler is welcome, no scientist can study, and no government dares to interfere. But why? What makes North Sentinel Island so untouchable? Breaking this law can result in fines, imprisonment, or worse. Because this restriction is not just to protect outsiders from the Sentinelese, it is to protect the Sentinelese from us. The Sentinelese have been cut off from modern civilization for tens of thousands of years. They have never been exposed to the viruses and bacteria that the rest of the world has adapted to. When European explorers arrived in the Americas, entire civilizations were wiped out, not by war, but by disease. Smallpox, measles, and influenza killed millions because their immune systems were defenseless. For the Sentinelese, something as simple as a common cold could be lethal. A single visitor could bring an epidemic that would destroy them forever. Despite the warnings, people have tried to visit North Sentinel, and many have paid the price. In 2006, 2 Indian fishermen drifted too close to the island while searching for crabs. When they didn't return, a helicopter was sent to investigate. What they found was chilling. Their boat was still there, but the men were gone. Their bodies were later spotted on the beach, pierced with arrows, left as a warning. When the rescue team tried to recover the bodies, they too were attacked. Even a helicopter could not get close without being met with a rain of arrows. Yet, even in modern times, some refuse to listen. In 2018, an American missionary, John Allen Chow, paid local fishermen to smuggle him onto the island. He believed he could be the first to introduce the Sentinelese to Christianity, but the island had no interest in his message. The fishermen who helped him later reported that they saw his body being dragged across the sand. The Sentinelese had spoken in the only language they know, survival. But there is something deeper, something beyond just laws and disease. The Sentinelese have resisted the modern world for thousands of years. They have no interest in money, technology, or the comforts of civilization. To them, survival does not mean advancement. It means isolation. For centuries, outsiders have tried to set foot on this island. Explorers, missionaries, even governments. And time after time, the Sentinelese have answered with the same message: stay away. The first recorded warning came in 1880, when British naval officer Maurice Vidal Portman led an expedition to study the Sentinelese. He captured 6 of them, 2 elderly and 4 children, and took them to the British settlement. Days later, the elderly captives died of illness, exposed to modern diseases they had no immunity against. Horrified, Portman sent the children back to the island with gifts, but the damage had been done. Since that moment, the Sentinelese have never forgotten. In 1981, the MV Primrose cargo ship ran aground near the island. The crew radioed for help, describing terrifying figures on the beach, armed with bows and spears. They were stranded for days, helpless, as the Sentinelese tried to board the ship. A storm saved them before the islanders could attack. But the shipwreck still remains, its rusting bones a permanent reminder of what happens when outsiders come too close. Even after centuries of warnings, some still refuse to listen. In 2018, John Allen Chow, an American missionary, bribed local fishermen to take him to the island. His final entry suggests he knew what was coming, but he went anyway. The fishermen who brought him there later watched from a distance, as the Sentinelese dragged his body away. No one has seen him since, no rescue attempt was made, and the Indian government has closed the case forever. As the world races forward, faster, louder, and more chaotic, the Sentinelese remain still, unchanged, unmoved. No smartphones, no wars, no pollution, no hunger, only the life they have always known. And so, the island remains a mystery, one of the last places on Earth where the modern world has not won. Perhaps that is why they fight so fiercely to protect it. Perhaps they know something we don't. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell for more. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. See you in the next one. Bye for now.